Hello, bonjour. Thanks for coming. Um, so, of course, I talk about that, about the dependency management, and I want you to have some takeaways. So I will present myself before, so then you can just remind about the content. So I've been doing Android development since 2014, and I jumped on the Kotlin train in 2016. I liked it a lot. And I'm using it in all of my projects, even non-Android these days. I love it. I also do a bit of warehouse development now, and I work on just one app for about 7 years, and now I left my job. That's why you have the thinking icon, which is what I'm going to do next. And so this day I'm working on the Kotlin multi-platform charting library, which works on Android, of course, but also on iOS. So we share a part of the UI, and so it looks like this. So it's a high-level API to make charts, simply. I'm working a bit on that. It's not my project, but with some friends. I'm also doing a bit of Wear OS development, some watch faces, and also some apps. I have some plans. As you can see, I have so watches. So I'm really serious about it. But that's only a few projects. I expect that there are months, not much more to really launch a thing. I want to start an organization for something that I believe is really important, which is transportation. Because transportation is really inefficient, especially when you talk about cars, which are commonplace in a lot of places. So I want to provide a replacement. I can't do that alone, and I can't do that without money, so I would have to find other ideas. And so I will start easy. This is not the project. I only plan to sell the lights that you have on the wheels. And then the plan is to get inspiration from this kind of vehicles that already exist, but nowadays have no motor. And I believe that if we start from something like this that is really efficient, aerodynamic, just like planes, which by the way consume less than a car per kilometer, I think that we can have less issues in cities and also less danger, because you are less likely to kill someone with something like this. And this, thanks to their aerodynamics, they go twice as fast as a bike. So I wanted to share that with you, because it's really not normal. Back to the topic, thank you. I use a bit of abbreviations, so it can fit in the titles, because dependencies is quite mouthful, but also verbose on the screen. But don't do that in your projects. So there's common known problems about dependency management. So I talk about them. Some solutions that we have now. The solutions that we might have tomorrow, that will be the future part. And also solutions that will, so lesser known problems that not everyone is thinking about, but sometimes you encounter them and you lose hours on it. And also some ideas for what we could do after the problems that we are really aware of today. So one of the common problems is upgrading dependencies. So you see, the time it takes you to update can be a competitive disadvantage or a competitive advantage. It takes a lot of time for you to upgrade, you are less likely to use the latest features from the libraries, you are less likely to have the bug fixes, you are also less likely to have the regressions early, but usually it's more about fixes than regressions when you upgrade library. So I will show a bit of pseudocode outlining the process when you upgrade a library if you take the base Gradle configuration in a project today. So, is it big enough? All right. So when you want to upgrade dependencies, you look for every module in your project. As you see, this is this for loop. Then you look for the Gradle file. So this is something that you have to do. Find the file. It's not a lot of work, but you still have to click a bit. Then for each dependency declaration that you find into that Gradle file, then you have to try updating. But before, you have to question yourself, should I really look for updates? Like, is this maintained? Because you know that it's work. If it's maintained, you have to look about the change log, you have to Google the thing. So you first try to see that. And if you decide that, yeah, we'll try updating, then you continue without discontinue, which we'll skip. Then you search for any variable updates. So this can take a bit of time. It's manual work. And then if there are any updates, which means that you might have spent time with no result, then you try to pick a new version and use it, considering the risk, because the bugs are rarely advertised. And then you replace the version. And so you have to do that for all of the Gradle files where you have the version defined, because that's the default configuration. It's put right into source code of the Gradle scripts. And then you have to address issues, regressions, or migration that you have to do. So let's go back to the slide. So there's many manual steps. It's inconvenient to upgrade incrementally also, because there are some tools that will suggest you, hey, there's a new version, but it will suggest you only the latest version. And maybe you don't want the very latest, which might be an alpha, a beta, or even a stable, but you don't want to try it yet. You want to do it step by step. And so for that, it's more manual work. Also, you might have possible compatibility puzzles. Since you don't see all the versions at the same time, it might get in the way of spotting that, okay, these two dependencies, usually they rely one on another, and so I need to upgrade both at the same time. And of course, you can add possible regressions. So there's also the build source version. Who is using the build source version? The putting dependency in build source? Raise your hand higher. Oh, okay. So almost half of the room. Interesting. So you can update all modules at once. So it's great, it's less steps. But there's no upgrade available warning in the IDE. You lose that. Well, there are some Gradle plugins that can help a bit for that. But still, and also unused dependency notations might accumulate, because it's a bit cumbersome to see, okay, I'm no longer needing this, I need to remove it from build source. It doesn't work very well in the IDE from my experience. And also another thing is that the entire build is invalidated. Like, you know, they have been working a lot on incremental compilation, compilation avoidance, and all of these optimizations to save you time. But if you update the build source, you start from scratch. So it's a fully clean build every time you just upgrade one constant. So there's also version catalogs. Who knows about version catalogs here? Raise your hand higher. Okay, half of the room again, not the same half. So it's the same purpose as putting stuff in build source, but instead you don't have, so yeah, less steps, but still no upgrade available warning. There's no support in Android Studio or in IntelliJ yet. Some Gradle plugins can still help. But the same problem, unused dependency notations might accumulate, and so you might spend time looking for update for something that you no longer use. Or you have to spend the time to clean it up, but we don't want to spend all our time cleaning, right? And what I believe is that it's actually a poor name for what it is, because there's no multiple versions in version catalogs. Like there's one version for one dependency, or one version for multiple dependencies, but there's not a catalog of versions for one dependency. So in my opinion, it should be dependencies catalog. Anyway. So yeah, no build invalidation for version catalogs. There's also the version range solution. Please don't use that, because builds become unreproducible, and you don't even know which version you are using. So it's like you only live once, but you break production more than once. And it can implicitly opt you into alpha versions or even snapshot versions. You can use dependency locking for sure. So it fixes the build reproducibility. But otherwise it doesn't help, and you cannot really select the version easily if you want to upgrade. There's another thing, which is dependency bots, like Dependabot and Renovate. By the way, I think Renovate now is being endorsed by some folks at Google. I mean, by Google, but not the Android team. Anyway, it's a complicated story. So it doesn't work with, well, there's a misspelling, sorry. It doesn't work with all the way you can declare versions in your other projects. So if you're using build source, for example, depend-about doesn't work here. So that, also it doesn't work locally. It's tied to the, it relies on push commits. So you have to commit every time you want to experiment, while sometimes you prefer to do it locally. It also has further locking to your Git platform. So if you are on GitHub, then it's harder to try another platform for whatever reason, or if you are not on GitHub, same story. And also it pollutes PRs, because you get a lot of pull requests all of the time by the bot, which are mixed into the same interface where your colleagues are doing work. And sometimes it's for a version you don't care about, like it's yet another snapshot or yet another alpha, but you decided that we are going to wait for beta, so it's noise. And also it wastes CI credits because it tries combinations, tries entire builds that you probably don't need because you will have selected only a specific version if you knew that there were these versions available. So I'm going to show you another solution that has no build cache invalidation on upgrade, just like version catalogs, that also centralize versions in a readable file, that also has automated upgrades lookup, kind of like the bots, but that can work locally, which has fewer steps, less CPU time per upgrade also, and a few bonus features. And that is just a Gradle plugin. So I'm going to do again the pseudocode thing. No, wait. Is that really what I had to plan to do? No, not done yet. Sorry. So that other solution is named refresh versions. Yeah, so I'm going to show you the pseudocode. So here, with refresh versions, you run the refresh versions Gradle task. Then you open the versions properties file. There is just one for the entire project, for all the modules. Then in that version file, you look for the version entries. So there's one entry, for example, for Android X activity, Android X compose UI, Android X compose compiler, and so on. Then you see all of the versions available. In a version entry, you have multiple updates. I will show you in a demo just after that. And so you try to pick the version to use, considering the risk, of course. And then you upgrade by just deleting all the versions until the new version. And so you do that for all of the version entries that you want, but it's all in one file, and then you address any issues if you need to upgrade something. So I believe that's a much simpler process. Do you agree? If you agree, please raise your hand. You are not all convinced yet. Okay. So refresh versions also loves Android because you can add Android X and Google libraries in seconds. You know, sometimes you need to look for the Maven string, the Maven coordinates, sorry. With refresh versions, they are built in, not for all of the libraries, but Android X and some from Google. Also, it helps you to upgrade to the right version in seconds, and also it helps you to spot deprecated and or move libraries. Like sometimes the Maven coordinates move from one to the other. It happened quite a lot of times in Android X. If you follow to the entirety of Android X, I don't know if a lot of people do that, but yeah. Also, it loves Kotlin, so you can add Kotlin X libraries in seconds, like Kotlin X coroutines or datetime. And you can easily share versions across build or Gradle KTS files. Because you know the X thing that we use in Groovy DSL is not very easy to use in Kotlin DSL. That's why some people were using build source, for example. So for instance, yeah. And it's built with Kotlin and coroutines to parallelize things. So let's have a real-world demo, and I will open one of my projects. So here is the versions.properties file, where all of the versions are centralized. But before that, I need to show you one of the Gradle files. And you see here I have dependencies, so this is Android X. let's say I want to add the dependency on Android X activity, then I can use autocomplete, and then I have it, and maybe it's activity compose, here it is, and then I have the dependency. And if I do a mistake, I just say Android X, it tells me, no, you can't do that, because there's a bit of type safety in there. And if you say, yeah, okay, Android X compose, but just for this module, I want to use another version, then you can say with version, and then you say version, hey, and it will not work because it's not a correct version. So here are the dependency notations, which are then just defined into the refresh versions plugin. And so the version properties, here you have all of the versions. So for example, here I can see the version of Android X Core. And I think there are new versions for this library in 1.9. Maybe I want to try some feature or Android 13, which requires that new version. So I'm going to run the refresh version task. So for that, I'm do the Command-Shift-A, then Gradle task. I have a shortcut for that, but I just want to show you this thing. Then I type refresh versions, and it's down here. And it takes 1, 2, 3 seconds, 4 seconds. And now you see I have new comments. You see in the gutter we have green marks. So the green marks are about the newly available versions. And so here, if I want to try that Android X Core library to upgrade, I put the caret here, I press Shift on my keyboard, then the up arrow several times, or I keep holding it, and this is the upgrade. And it upgrades all of the modules that use that. And also, maybe you have noticed it that we don't have the full Maven coordinates here. It's because for Android X and some other libraries that are built into the plugin, we have some rules to make it a bit shorter to don't have repetition. When you say Android X twice, okay, we understood, it's Android X. So it's make it easier to scan, because the easier it is to scan, the easier you look for what is really important. Actually, I don't want to upgrade just now, and I'm going to clean up the things. So refresh versions, clean up. Versions, clean up. It's the same. Anyway. Yeah, now back in a clean state, it removes available version comments. I think you can see that it's also a way to view how far behind you are. So it's a new way to visualize some kind of technical depth. It's impossible to have a tool that can show you all of the kinds of technical depth, but at least you have one. So yeah, with refresh version, you can add common popular dependencies from the Kotlin and Android ecosystems. Quickly, you can visualize tech depth, as I just said, update to the right version, and more importantly, you can spend time or valuable tasks, because every week there's updates to Android X, not counting other dependencies that you might use in your project. And leave work, I think it's the right thing. I think sometimes we work too many hours and we don't focus on the quality of work. It's not from me, it's from someone working on French TV that said that in an interview, but I really agree with that view. Like, the effective time is better than just working 60 hours per week. It's insane, and then you are tired, and then you, like this. So yeah, give it a try. You can send issues. I maintained this tool because I didn't like how slow it was to upgrade stuff, so I contributed to that to make it really right. And by the way, this thing was initially made by Jean-Michel Fayard, which was a Berliner, but is now in Paris. I'm working a bit with him on this, but we moved that to an organization because since we are more than one maintainer, we want to show that it's not just one person. And so this is someone. So who is behind refresh versions? This is, the answer was before, sorry, but it's not what I want to answer. So this is a short break in the middle of the talk, but please don't leave the room. So I want to ask you, how you came to Berlin? Did you came with a plane? Please raise your hand. Okay. With a train? Okay. With other public transport? With a car? Okay. And with a bike? Or a skateboard? Is good? Okay. Great. So personally, I ran to catch the bus. It was 10 seconds after, or maybe 4. Then I took a train from Tours to Paris, 1 hour, high speed. Then Paris to Paris is also 1 hour. Then Paris to Frankfurt, Frankfurt to Berlin. So it was a 10, 11-hour journey. But it's cheaper than flying in CO2 and also in money. So yeah, this is how trains look like. Inouï means unheard of. I find that a bit excessive because trains in Germany go as fast usually. And yeah, I'm talking about this train. So actually, I met Jean-Michel, which was not going to DroidCon. He was coming to see colleagues, and so this was me 2 days ago with him. It's really pure coincidence. You see, I was doing this trip. So this is where I live, in Tours, France. Then Jean-Michel was in Paris, the same train. Then he left at Mannheim. Then I left at Frankfurt to join him in the train that he took at Mannheim. And then we made the rest of the trip together and took selfies with animals, so with a beer and a dog. That's it. So the break is over. Thank you. And now I want to talk about the risk of third-party dependencies. So you can have API breakage and upgrade, which is a problem that refresh versions doesn't solve most of the time. And you know that in the Scala ecosystem, they have automated tool for that. So if they have it in Scala, which is a notoriously complicated language that still looks a bit like Kotlin, just harder, why don't we have it in Kotlin? Why don't we have it in Java and other things, right? Other ecosystems. Also, you can have breaking behavior, like they change the size of the button, and then now it overlaps with something else. No, you can no longer book a train ticket. There's also unforeseen bugs, like you are adding a new dependency. You are hoping that it will live up to its promise. You invest the weeks, days, the months into building on top of it, and then there's a major bug that is a showstopper. There's also possibility of vulnerabilities, and you get no notifications by default in the Android ecosystem and Kotlin ecosystem. Although I don't think we have seen a lot of CVs thanks to how the Android runtime is architecture. It's still something that I believe we can improve on. Also, you can have abandon from authors, like, oh yeah, there was this nice library, but now the author moved and he's now a farmer. And Rust, you cannot maintain it, or it's not even open source. Usually it's open source, but if it's not open source, and even if it is, sometimes it's open source, you see. And also you can have ownership and policy changes. I don't think it happens a lot, but that's also one of the risks. It changed from BSD to GPL. Oh no, we can no longer use it. It happened for Bash. And also coordinate changes, like you don't know that the address changed. Like, you know, when it happens in your home, the post, you can say, yeah, now I'm living here, and that will forward things automatically, and the sender don't have to know. But in the library ecosystem, it doesn't work like that. Why? Like, it's computer, it's much simpler than in post office. Okay, and now there's another problem. It's this. Oh, we don't have sound. Yeah.
But your wheels ain't flying.
So you upgrade, but you get a double dose. It's from the Idiocracy movie. If you want to lose faith in humanity, go watch Idiocracy. It's a movie from 2006, I think. Anyway, so upgrade. He brought the double dose. Transitive dependencies mean that you can possibly have unwanted upgrades. So, for example, you might, I say a case that is not very problematic usually, but like you upgrade retrofit to take advantage of a new feature, but retrofit upgrades OKHTTP, and OKHTTP has some breaking changes that require you to spend some time, or maybe there's a regression, but you really needed that new feature in retrofit, then you are kind of blocked. And so sometimes it happens, but you don't even notice it because, well, it just works smoothly. Gradle believes like, yeah, okay, there's a transitive upgrade. I will just push that upgrade and hopefully it works. So you can guard yourself against that to know when the double dose is being used. There's this plugin, which is very recent. Maybe you know this person, handstand Sam. He does talk and then he does a handstand. He's in the US. Anyway, dependency guard allows you to keep track of all of the dependencies, even transitive ones. It's just helpful to keep a diff, but it can also help you more than just notice when there's a transitive upgrade, because you can prevent JUnit, for example, dependencies to go into production. JUnit are only for tests, right? Not to be into the main app. But sometimes you onboard someone that is a bit of a junior and doesn't know yet about this. And so instead of having to tell them, oh no, it's a mess, you can just have the tool tell them very gently with a nice black or red error message. One thing, I don't have a solution for that, but James Ward say, I don't really need Copilot to write code for me. I need it to maintain my code, right? Like you don't spend so much time creating a project, but you spend a lot of time, most of your time maintaining it and figuring out how to maintain it the right way. Because I think there's a statistic that say that we spend more time reading code than writing code. So deployment upgrades, maybe it should come with the code changes as well. That way it will be a helpful bot instead of a dumb bot that just tries every single version, every single alpha, beta, and so on. So it's akin to what I was saying that they have in the Scala ecosystem. And that's all I have to say about upgrades. I want to talk about library discovery, because I told you that you can have unforeseen bugs when you introduce a new library or other thing. And I believe that it's not that easy to find the right one for the long term. Who always had an easy time to pick a library? Please raise your hand. Always an easy time to pick a library. Please raise your hand. No one? Okay, so it's hard. And not easy to find a good one. You don't really need the right one, but one that is great for what you need. Anyway, there are specialized tools like package search by JetBrains. There are GitHub, Google Search, specialized websites. Maybe you know Android Arsenal. Who knows about Android Arsenal? And please keep your hand up if you are still using it nowadays. Okay, one person is still using it today. The reason why I don't really use it nowadays is because there are so many old libraries that are no longer maintained, and there's no filter about that, I think. So it's a bit hard, or you have to change a lot of specialized search to target what you are looking for. There's, of course, word of mouth. Who already use a library because they have been recommended to use it? By a friend or a colleague? Okay, so yeah, it works. Dogs also, anyway. So I think one can dream for the perfect dependency discovery tool platform. Maybe package search by JetBrains will get there. It's already aware of multi-platform libraries, but I don't think it takes into account how old the library is. It can show you, but it doesn't help you filter, I think. And for multi-platform, sometimes there are libraries that were started when it was really, really experimental, like it was on the first Kotlin multi-platform iteration. They are still around on GitHub, and so they surface here. But the multi-platform model changed 2 times, I think, not by a lot, but the first time it was quite a big change. So that's a problem. Sorry to bring problems. It's a surface problem. So I have some ideas for a great discovery tool. Of course, I will need it to be ergonomic, capable, and beautiful, so I want to use it. but also have semantic filtering and sorting, and also write defaults for use case like I have a modern app and I want a library for this kind of task. Usually, the libraries that you use, someone else is using them, so they are common use case in the community. You are not the only one. I'm not the only one either. Also, it would be great that it signals any incompatibilities. Like, it could know that you want to use the latest version of this library, fine, but with your project, which I know the dependencies of, you're going to need to migrate some code, and some steps are not automated to do that migration. It would be great to know that, so that you can have the right expectations. You know, okay, so we want to use this feature, we need this library, and it's going to take us around this time because we also have to migrate this or do this work. Or we won't have to do that, and we can just use it straight away, so maybe it will be easy. Expectations are usually something your manager might ask you, but even when there's no manager, which currently is my case, I can tell you that it's great to have the correct expectations. Also, I think it would be great to have feedback of trusted users and kind users, you know, not like on the Play Store when people say 1 star, can't log in, you are just, I don't say the words. And yeah, you could add other great ideas. For that, we need some static and dynamic metadata. Static metadata, you have software compatibility, operating system, especially for Kotlin multi-platform. Also the transitive dependencies, because these are part of the compatibility challenges that you might have. CPU architecture sometimes, or bytecode version in other times. Doesn't happen a lot on Android, but on the JVM sometimes you can have these kind of issues. Also, something that we don't have at all is knowledge about when you are depending on a subset of the API. Like, know that this library relies on OKHTTP, but it doesn't rely on everything in OKHTTP. It only relies on this API and this API. So you know that if you upgrade and it doesn't change this API, then it's fine to upgrade. But there's no information about that. But it's really clearly a job for a machine, not for a human to look at bytecode, or look at thousands of files, or maybe just dozens of files, anyway. API diff is something that is already there for the JVM, but not really user-friendly tools and not integrated. Probably other things we could add, but there's also dynamic metadata. Here, it would be great to have known bugs and affected APIs, so that you know, okay, I'm using this API, it might break. Also, reliability reports, because reliability, I believe, is really important. Some apps are used to take the train, so if you miss a train because of the software bug, it's a bummer. The mechanical engineers did a great job. Reliability reports, yeah. Binary compatibility commitments, I think it's something that would be interesting to have also. So the developers can say, we plan to break this, and then you could see in advance, okay, maybe we have to plan for that, or you could send feedback, say, yo, please don't break this because we have this use case or whatever. So binary and API stability, and also reviews from the community. I think it would be really nice to have that, instead of just issues where you have everything unsorted and Twitter and some on Slack and so on, whatever. Okay, almost done. So I want to give credit to Jean-Michel Fayard for creating refresh versions. I really love that tool. As a user, it's really nice. Cedric Champeau, which is a former Gradle employee that also helped a bit to improve refresh versions, and work also on version catalogs. Some pair programmers in 2021, and maybe also in 2020, I did some pair programming, working on refresh versions, and it was really a great experience. So I thank COVID for that. I don't thank COVID for everything, but there's some good thing. So thank you, Wakas, Benjamin, Alexi, Brady, Nikki, Zara, and Kamalesh, and Jean-Michel. I also pair programming with him. Contributors, folks like Gradle, JetBrains, and so many other folks. Thank you. Almost done. I have questions. So please raise your hand when it's a yes to these other questions. Do you use Kotlin multi-platform or KMM in production? Okay, can we have a small group when I leave the room? Because I would like to ask Firebase to support KMM, because they are here in the conference. I think we can have an impact. They believe like, yeah, it's alpha. I don't think so. It's alpha only for the developers. But anyway, did you enjoy this talk? Okay, great. And will it be useful to you? Great, okay. So if you have questions, you can ask them now or later. You can find me today, tomorrow. And I'll also be in Berlin in the weekend. If you ever want, I'm going to visit the city simply. Thank you very much.